get too hung up in its truth.
Yes, it's a myth. Everything is a myth.
All right. Okay.
Science is a myth as well. We don't know what we think in 200 years,
That's
right?
That's right.
But right now is when I studied being a psychologist, I was brought up in this old thinking.
Yes.
You know, you have to work on your past.
Yes, right.
And on your traumas, and then you have to realize, this is my trauma, and I have to deal with it.
Yes, right.
That was all. But the new science just opens doors
Yes.
for new understanding, and then you have, like in Huna, infinite possibilities,
Yes.
and you create your own possibilities. And that was very freeing for me as a psychologist.
Sure.
And I use these scientific myths. They are very powerful.
They are. They are.
They are very, very powerful.
Some of the most powerful placebos we know.
Yes, very powerful. And that's why I'm telling them.
Fine.
Yes.
I
And you
will
can
support
see
that.
them in the MRT. You can see how the dopamine areas in the... Yes, you have proof, you have pictures.
They're pictures. That's
MRT
what
are
counts. Yes,
also imagery pictures.
Right.
Yes. So they are, I always tell my people, your brain, your thinking brain should go with you.
It's still, to me, sounds like the mechanistic, scientific approach to what a human being is. That leaves out the non-physical almost entirely. And I find that unfortunate. Because I think that while we can use the science and the mechanistic ways of explaining things and use the various techniques, it's so much easier if we also take advantage of the transcendent, which we have all experienced. So why not take advantage of that as well?
You can find that in quantum physics.
You
Sort
can,
not in regular
but
physics.
nowhere else in physics.
Yes, but in quantum,
Yes, absolutely.
you quoted Einstein, you
Sure.
quoted...
Sure.
Yes. you
That's fine.
find
I
it
mean, I
there.
majored in physics.
Yes.
That's right.
You have a major in physics. Okay.
So, so I do understand that
Yes.
the quantum, that there is consciousness, a necessary part of quantum physics, but nowhere else in physics,
Nowhere else in physics.
and not
no.
and generally not in medicine.
No.
So, in any case, I approach it from from a practical spiritual point, where we can add to the images and the dreams
Yes.
by tapping into something that is bigger than our conscious mind and our body mind. And we don't have to decide what we're going to call it. Everybody's got a name. So, but in any case, I find it a very useful thing to do.
Yes. And we sort of have access to this mind through imagery,
Yes.
right?
One way.
Yes.
One way.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And I gather that your primary focus is through the imagery.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
One of the things that I find is useful is in paying attention to why people have a problem. Where do these problems come from? And I'm not sure what your answer is. Maybe you can tell me what your answer is. Where do these problems come from? Like cancer.
They come from the sort of thinking they have, the cognitive structure they have. They got it sort of implanted in their unconscious brain as a child, and they keep on it.
And in your mind, what is the mechanism?
It's automatism,
Okay.
I would say.
I would suggest that it is that cognitive thinking that you're suggesting that creates emotional conflicts.
Yes.
All right.
Absolutely, yes.
So it is those conflicts
Yes.
that are causing something along the lines of an energy blockage from the body. Okay.
Mostly very self-destructive conflicts.
Right. That are in the form of stories.
Yes. Yes.
So if
Or
we,
thinking, but it's a story.
well, I mean, I use story because we We're talking about meaning,
Yes.
which we make up, right?
Yes.
We make it up to connect two or more experiences,
Yes.
and we put meanings together, and that's our story.
Yes.
So, yes, it is our thoughts, but it's also the thoughts that have such a large emotional component.
Yes, they are embodied thoughts.
They are embodied, totally.
Yes.
So if we change the story,
Mm-hmm.
then we change the body.
We change the disease.
We change the
Yes.
disease. So that's what you're doing with
Yes.
the visualization. What I like to do, and have found very successful, and others before me obviously have done it, is to change the story generally from being a victim to being a hero.
Yes.
All right.
We call it in Germany from being a victor to a creator.
Okay. Yes. All right.
Yes. The victimhood, you say that,
Yes.
is the cause of all diseases,
Okay.
right?
All right. All right. So we're on the same
Yes.
track.
Yes.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Poor me, the weather is too hot.
Right.
Yes.
And I can't do anything about
And
it. I
can't
just
do
have
it.
to suffer.
Yes. Yes.
Which blows my mind, frankly, that a religion like Buddhism is built on the notion that there is suffering in the world. I mean, of the
Yes.
Four Noble Truths, that's number one.
Yes.
And yet, that's purely a creation of the human mind.
Yes.
That's suffering.
Yes. Yes.
Now, Buddha goes on to say, well, you can get rid of it by, following the Eightfold Path, but he doesn't acknowledge that we are capable of switching from that suffering to
Millions of other stories.
Absolutely, at
Yes.
any time.
I have heard somebody saying that the Buddhism is sort of contradictory to the imaginary work. Like the Buddhism tries to stop the thinking,
Right.
and the imagination doesn't think about thinking. It just creates visions.
Right.
So its imagination is in the right brain, and Buddhism is sort of in the left brain, starting to stop thinking.
Yes.
Stops thinking.
Right. And
And if you imagine, you don't think,
right.
right?
Right.
So it's a sort of
And it's anti-pleasure,
yes, it's anti-pleasure. Yes, yes.
and
It's
it's very unfortunate.
yes. Was heißt karg? It's a very dry religion. To say dry, it's not a jungle.
Well,
It's
there's certainly
it's
no fun in it.
Yeah, no, it's a lack of pleasure. Yeah.
no,
Yeah,
it's-
and no passion.
no, it's no passion.
That's right. It's certainly not jungle. You're
Yes,
absolutely
it's
right.
not. It's just like a desert,
Yes,
right? And
yes.
you have to survive in a desert.
And yet it is the most intellectual of the major religions.
Yes, it's very intellectual, and you
And-
just have to sit in front of a wall and try to think nothing.
Which is actually, there is some pleasure in that. I will give them that.
For
But
some people might be some pleasure in
yes,
that.
right. But
Yes.
and only for a period of time.
Yes,
Any case, we don't need to
yes.
tear down all the major religions. I mean,
But that's the fun
But it-
of the imagination, right?
yes, right.
You can create.
Yes. And do you also accept that most of our memories come from our imagination?
Yes.
Okay,
It's
so we're
ancestor stories, or however you
so we
wanna-
are creating the past
Yes.
in the present moment.
Yes, and we can change, like you said that on Thursday evening. I have, for example, clients who have a terrible, terrible, terrible past.
Yes.
And with some clients I try to beauty up the past,
Huh?
but with some it doesn't work.
Right.
And then I tell them, create new parents,
Yeah. Right.
create a new family, and
Wow.
they do it and they heal,
That's right.
right?
Absolutely.
Yes, they have one. For some people, it's possible to imagine the mother nicer and the father more loving. But I have some very chronicle clients. I can't work with my parents. It was terrible. They misused me all the time. And she had created a beautiful mother, a beautiful father, and some angels around. And they were vegan, rocking the
Okay,
baby,
okay.
and they do it for a week, they do it for a few weeks, and then there's a sort of a turning point, and it really becomes real.
Yes, right.
And then the symptoms relax.
Yes,
They
right.
yes,
Right, sure.
yes.
Yes.
They just have to take the pleasures which bring them in a state of peace,
Right,
right?
right.
And that's the truth. I tell them you can use any picture you want. There's no guru tomb on pictures,
Right.
right?
Right.
Just take the pictures which makes the body relax,
Yes.
and as soon as the body relaxes, you know this picture is right,
Right.
right?
There's one other element that I like to be mindful of, and that is not only of feeling good, pleasure, but feeling good about oneself. And so most of the stories that I encourage people to tell are about feeling good about oneself. And I find that that is the biggest roadblock or the stumbling block in people's healing, is being able to feel good about themselves. So how do you teach people to feel good about themselves?
With this medical colleague,
Yes.
we went with our imagination very deep into the tissue of the body and
Yes.
the cells. And for us, the body is the sort of creator of truth.
Yes, all right.
So they don't have to think about themselves. Do I love myself? Am I pleasant with myself? They just feel into their body. And as soon as the body relaxes, the body answers much more before the psychic.
Oh, sure,
yes?
yes.
So they find themselves through the reaction of the body.
Okay.
So I give an imagery. I don't say, does it feel good to yourself? Do you think now good for yourself? I always ask, how does your body react to this image?
Yes, yes.
And then they say, well, I relax. Or they say, well, I let my feet relax, but not my left. Yeah. And we find the truth. The body is like the, was heißt die Festplatte?
The hard disk. No,
The
this hard
hardware.
disk. Hard disk. Hard
It's
disk.
the hardware.
The hard
right?
disk?
The hardware? of
The hard disk.
computer.
The hard disk. She's
And
meaning
there's-
hard disk.
As soon as the body releases pain,
Yes.
then you're on the right track and you
Yes.
find to yourself.
Yes, but there are still beliefs that will cause discord unless they're addressed, I think. Like, I'm not worthy. Now, you can keep using the imagery,
Yes?
but until you, I mean, it's like having a splinter in your foot. You can put lots and lots of padding, but until you take the splinter out,
Yes.
you'll still, be susceptible to pain
Yes.
when you don't have all that padding.
Yes. I have, I'm just writing a little booklet, 10 steps to self-healing.
Okay.
And I work with my clients. They have a picture of a vision of health.
Yes.
It can be a picture of them as a child, or it can be a picture of Marilyn Monroe with their face on it.
Okay.
Just anything, or the
Sure.
plant or the flower.
Sure.
And they also have a little long paper which where they write every evening. The thesis is that the normal state of the body, of the mind, of the soul is pleasure, is joy,
Okay. Good.
is
Good.
Entspannung.
Entspannung is contraction,
good.
distraction, relaxation.
Is
Okay.
relaxation.
Okay.
That's my thesis.
I agree. I'm with you on that.
The normal state of the body is being relaxed, being awake, being
Yes.
aware,
Right.
being enthusiastic.
Yes.
And so every day they write about their day. Where have I not been relaxed?
Okay.
Where have I not been enthusiastic? where have I not been joyful? And they write it down. And the second step is they shall write down every evening which belief system made this episode of your life unjoyful.
Can they spot those?
I teach it to them.
Okay.
They have to just review the day, say this was good, and then I talked to somebody
Yes,
and I
okay.
felt
Okay.
And probably most of the time it's like the belief system of a victim,
Yes.
right?
Right.
And it's sort of like a criminal story, like a detective story. They
Right.
have to find out.
Okay.
That sometimes takes a time. There are
Yes,
maybe
right.
3, 4, 5 fundamental belief systems.
Okay.
I have to do everything to please the other,
Right. Okay.
or I have to this and that, and they have to find that out. And once they have, and the next exercise for the day is if they have found it out, then they should do some yelling exercises or screaming or dancing or just get this tension out of the body.
Okay.
So to release the impulse. Emotion means to movere, to move out.
Fair enough. I'm curious about that. While I see that is very often effective, I'm also very aware that when the story changes, that emotion is not there anymore.
Yes,
So even without letting it out,
yes,
it just disappears.
yes.
So do you feel that the yelling or any of that is necessary? I mean, necessary for all time, everybody?
No. I offer it in my groups almost every time. We yell, we dance, we shake.
Okay.
Sometimes it opens up channels.
Okay, I've certainly seen that, but
It sometimes, I offer, I don't know, hundreds and thousands of self-healing
Sure,
exercises
sure.
because it's always an individual path.
it sounds like a very Reichian kind of thing. Wilhelm Reich and all of that kind
Yeah,
of
it's-
approach.
Sometimes it's just fun.
Well, I agree. But
yes.
I mean, I'm just looking
And
at it.
I offer this because for some it sometimes helps,
All right.
right? But
Yes.
it doesn't have to.
All right. All right.
It doesn't. It's just an offer, like the imagery.
Okay.
My experience is that you never know. You never know
Sure.
what helps. You never know, right?
Right. I agree.
And it's no standard. You have to do A, B, C, D.
Right.
So you have to just float in a field and try here. Like if you have a symptom is like a knot, very tight,
Yes.
and you here here and here and here and here till you loosen it up.
Right.
So that's why I offer this.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
I'm not saying there's anything
Yes.
wrong with it. I'm just
Yes.
trying to understand.
Yes. So they either yell or shout or shake, or and the next step would be to change the story,
Right. Okay.
right? You have this belief and you change the story.
Right. Okay.
Alexander, I think you didn't get answer your question on the role of self-worthiness.
Yes. I would like to hear more.
This is what he was. So you didn't really answer that one. Die Selbstwertgefühl.
Wie heißt das auf Englisch?
Self-worthiness.
Self-worthiness?
Yes.
You say?
Oh,
Well, self-love or
Self-love.
I
self-worthiness.
think it
Self-worth?
comes naturally with the relaxation of the body. It comes when you feel at home in your body and you feel authentic in your body.
I agree. It does come.
It
Yeah.
comes naturally.
But I know in both my work and for myself, there have been plenty of times when I have been as relaxed as I possibly could in my body, often with something like a lomi lomi massage, 3-4 hours of massage. And yet, I cannot relax because of this self-worth issue, and that none of that, even long periods of genital massage, do not take care of it. So without an accent on that self-worth issue, I don't find, at least in my experience, that people can relax to the place of full authenticity that you're talking about.
I offer one of the basic exercises, it's on my homepage, is the mirror work.
Yes?
Every morning, you stand in front of the mirror, I love myself, I'm wonderful, I am, so you get some
Sure.
access
Yes.
to that.
Okay. That's good.
And also the work with the inner baby.
Yes?
You rock it in your arms.
Good.
You hold it on your hand.
Yes.
You leave the trauma and you go into a new future with the baby or with the inner
Good.
child.
Good.
So I think that should take care of that. So.
Okay. I'm not convinced. But
So
I'm
what
not.
is your?
I don't know that I have a full solution.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still working on it. I do journeys. You saw the shamanic journey, so I do some journeys back into the past. One of my favorites is to talk to the body and ask the body to tell its story from conception, or maybe even before
Yes.
on, and to listen to the story
Yes.
that the body's telling.
Yes. I sometimes travel through the uterus,
Yes?
clean the uterus with golden light,
Oh, that's nice.
clean the, was heißt Zeugungsfunken?
Zeugungsfunken
I call it the light
the
of
energy of
perception,
Conception or
no,
perception?
perception in
Conception?
Conception,
conception.
yes.
but I visualize it as a light,
Yes, okay.
and we clean the light,
Yes, good.
and we go past beyond that.
Yes,
And there we create a new future, and we go back, a new conception,
yes,
a new uterus,
okay.
eine Höhle,
Some of us
Cave,
didn't-
new cave.
Go ahead.
a cave of love.
Okay, some of us didn't get to come through the uterus. Some of us didn't come through the uterus.
Okay, so
s-
just anyway.
No, not just anybody. A cesarean section. Caesarean section? C-section?
Caesar, Kaiserschnitt.
No. I mean, I clean the...
I understand what you're saying.
the-
I'm suggesting that not all of us came through the usual
yes,
pathway.
but they can imagine,
We can. We
Yes.
absolutely can, yes.
and we put angels in the uterus,
Okay.
or animals, or whatever.
I
So
love those uterine angels.
yes, I'm working with that.
Right, fair enough.
So the conception is surrounded by angels, maybe, or
Right.
by God, or whatever, and
Sure.
then you materialize in
Yes.
this cave of love,
Yes? Yes,
and
yes.
you sprinkle it and shine it with
Okay.
golden light, and then
Okay.
you clean everything. You clean the uterus of your mother, and sometimes we also clean the ancestors'
Good.
uteruses. What is multiple uterus?
Uteri?
Uteri, okay, of the ancestor, yes.
Right.
We clean far back in time,
Yes.
so it's
Okay. Well, I think you're addressing my concerns. I want to play with that to some degree.
yes,
There are some of these stories, particularly the body stories, that I don't want to overlay another story on until I have fully listened to what the body has to say. So I like to at least hear the body's version of what happened,
yes,
which is usually very different from the mind's version.
yes. We sometimes even, I just did a seminar on men and women,
Yes?
and we had not the body but the clitoris and the penis tell the story.
Oh, good.
Yes.
Oh, good.
So that's another story
That's
too.
that's a fun story, yes.
Yeah. Well, it's not always fun.
Well, I mean,
yes.
Sorry.
But it's from the eyes of
Yes,
this
right.
part of the
Yes,
body.
right.
Tell
Yes.
the story, starting with conception.
Yes, right.
What, it's, or from the liver, or from
Right.
whatever organ
Right.
you
Good.
have.
Okay. Good.
Yes.
Good.
Yes.
So we're operating very much in parallel here.
Yes, I I got this flight to Hawaii as a present, and he wanted to go to Hawaii. My son wanted to go in Hawaii, and I said, "What shall I do in Hawaii? I don't know anything." And then I started reading these Huna books, your book,
Oh, yeah.
and I thought, well, there are a lot of things which are very similar to the way I work.
Yes.
I didn't find it that similar in Buddhism, for example, or
Right.
in Christianity.
Certainly.
And I said, what you say, or what Sir G. King, I said, well, that's sort of like I work, and I didn't know Huna before.
Uh-huh. Good. Good. I'm glad you found this.
Yes.
So in what way can I assist you?
Yes, maybe this one point you made with self-love.
Yes.
How is it, which is the shortest way to self-love for people? But also I have very good results on all sorts of diseases,
Mhm.
except cancer.
Okay.
I have some who got cured, but they also had an operation, or also did, so I don't, you can't really
No, you
tell
can't.
if it's that.
Right.
And my vision is that in 10 years somebody says, oh, I have a cancer, and people say, oh, you just have to do this and that, don't worry.
Right. Well, I think you could start off by don't worry.
Mm-hmm.
If people just did that, don't worry, be happy, there wouldn't be cancer.
Yes, probably.
In my work, the first thing that I do in terms of self-love is to teach people to not criticize themselves.
Yes, that's very important.
Yeah.
Yes. No criticism
no-
at all, and not
no.
to criticize other people.
That's right. It's the same thing.
Yes.
Everybody takes it.
Yes.
Which means that that the whole notion of perfection is a poison.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely.
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 Yes. Right.
Everything is fluent, and it's
Right. So
Yes.
any ideal that we're trying to live
Yes.
up to is just very dangerous.
yes,
Okay.
I agree,
Good.
100%.
Okay. Well, that's where I start.
Mm-hmm.
Then I teach people how to deal with a fear of disapproval,
Mm-hmm.
and I have a week-long program for that.
Mm-hmm.
If they have a fear of disapproval, then I
That's
sorry,
somebody else might
a
disapprove
disappointment, a fear of disappointing others.
Yes.
So it only takes a week, but each day for this week, I ask them to intentionally disappoint at least 3 people,
Okay.
and that
Good.
seems to work.
Okay.
With regards to the criticism, I have a fast. Here at Kalani, they have all kinds of these cleanses,
Mm-hmm.
and as far as I'm concerned, not one of those cleanses really takes care of the most toxic aspect of their life,
Mm-hmm.
and that's the criticism.
Mm-hmm.
So I have this joyous mind cleanse, I call it.
Mm-hmm.
So each day, twice a day, for 5 minutes, and I have small variations on, spend a minute appreciating everything that's around you. For a minute, appreciate all the wonderful people in your life.
Mm-hmm.
So for 5 minutes, and I don't remember them all. But the other part of it is this fast, a week-long fast. And you can eat or drink anything in this fast.
Mm-hmm.
It's a matter of the first 3 days, you're only allowed 3 criticisms a day. Yourself or anybody
With
else.
yourself or with...
Anybody, any kind. The next 2 days, you're only allowed 1 criticism a day. And the last 2 days of the week-long fast, you're not allowed any criticisms at all.
Mm-hmm.
And, nobody's going to be counting, but they're going to be paying attention.
But they're going to be aware of it, what
That's
they're
right.
doing. Yes.
That's right. So
Yes.
that's the whole point of
Always
it.
this talk, don't
Yeah.
do that, this is good, this is not good. It's judging is also
Right.
very destructive.
Right. And, it's the same thing,
Yes.
really, isn't it? So I encourage people not to criticize themselves for criticizing themselves, but it has a good effect, a salubrious effect on them to be aware of the criticism. So that's the number one thing. In my program on self-love, I also talk about don't be bullied by your past.
Mm-hmm.
So many people feel that their past has made them what they are,
Yes.
and they can't get out of the past. But obviously, you deal with that
Yes.
with your imagination
Yes.
work. So, and you take care of most of the things that I do
Mm-hmm.
with my self-love. But I find that the self-love is an important.
I think
Part.
it's the center.
Yes, I think it's the center
If
too.
you have the love for yourself, then
Right, and it's interesting that my friend and mentor and teacher, Serge King, is all about pleasure and about feeling good, but he doesn't place the emphasis as much on self-love, and feeling good about oneself.
what is his... I have a date with him in a few days,
Oh, good, good.
but what's his...
Well, from my perspective, I mean, and he is a very good friend. But he has so many techniques around helping people feel good, and to get. He uses dynamite and lots of techniques that he's developed, and which are all wonderful. But it is this essence of feeling good about oneself. Particularly, I think, most important is around our sexuality.
His work.
No, my work.
Okay.
He doesn't
You
go
did
there.
some tantric.
Pardon?
You did some tantric.
Yes, I did. I studied a
read
fair
it.
bit of Tantra.
Yes.
And I worked with the Body Electric School, which is about erotic massage and erotic trance. So I've done a lot of work in that realm, and I find that it is the shame, which is essentially not loving yourself, that is so tricky to deal with, and that getting unprogramming all of those shame stories, which are so insidious and so difficult to see since they've been around so long, that are so important. So that's really where I'm coming from on
Yes,
that self-love.
I've read that. Yes, I am. We did this men and women workshop. It was a series of 4 workshops, and
Yes.
one workshop was about erotic
Yes.
energy. And while going into this field, we started with Tantra, but we ended up with the Chinese.
Interesting.
They had about many thousand years of erotic exercises.
Sure. Yes.
For-
Mantak Chia is the
for
only one.
heartaches, for blood pressure,
Okay.
for
Well, I didn't know
stomach
that.
aches. Yes, they.
How wonderful.
Yes,
Can you give me a source? I'd like to read up more on that.
I can mail it to you. I don't know the English if they exist in English.
Ah, okay.
But I have 3 or 4 books on the old Chinese, and I was in Germany. Tantra is. I think people know about Tantra, but people don't know, and I didn't know before that the Chinese had many thousand years of sexuality, erotic, was in the middle of the community life, and if a couple got married, and the husband wasn't able to make the woman an orgasm, she can go to the divorce publicly
yes.
and say, well, my husband, he didn't make it, I want to get the divorce.
Okay.
So it was very public
I don't think that
thing.
I don't think that was part of the law for a long period. I think that there were periods where it was.
It was before the birth of Christ, then
Sure,
they
but if
came
this was in the-
Confucius, and he changed everything.
Right. Okay. So you're saying it's before Confucius?
Yes, much before.
I see. Okay.
Confucius was very like a desert. Yes.
Oh, he was.
But
But
before
Lao
that-
Tzu was not so bad.
And they worked with the yin and yang energy,
Right.
and the men needed the energy of the women to
Sure.
live fully,
Sure,
and
sure.
vice versa.
Right. Okay.
And for example, in this workshop, when we work with visions or with remodeling the past,
Yes.
we sort of enlighten the vision with erotic energy,
Good.
and just widen it through the whole universe.
Good, yes.
Yes.
I do that with chocolate.
With chocolate. With chocolate. No, we do it with
I understand,
we go
but
with
I
our
do the same.
awareness.
I
to
understand
our,
it's easier for the
the
people I
center.
deal with to do it with chocolate, but you can do the same thing.
It works. I think it works different in the body. It's an energy which comes from the bottom of your personality.
In my experience, you can go everywhere that the erotic energy is to be found, and do the things with it. You can with other pleasures as well. That's why I say chocolate. I mean, it's. I had long discussions with the man who created the Body Electric School and developed the Taoist erotic massage. That's what he called it, which has some Taoism, but it's a lot more to it than that. And so you get into this trance place. I certainly can do it with chocolate, and I do it on a regular basis, to take people into a place where you feel that pleasure throughout the body, and then you expand out into the universe. And for some people who are sexually blocked and have trouble with their own erotic feelings, chocolate works better.
Okay.
I find.
In Germany, almost everybody is sexually blocked. I think in America too.
I think so too.
There's
Yes.
over centuries there are blockages
Yes.
in men and in women. It's not a natural thing,
it's
right?
craziness.
It's became unnatural,
Right.
and we have to go back to natural. And this is a very, very strong energy,
Yes.
and it is able, as the Chinese said, to heal everything.
Fair enough. Yes.
Once you get into contact and when you pass this wall of shame and of thinking and
That's right.
whatever.
That's right. So, whatever it is, we have to get through that wall of shame.
Yes, yes.
And I appreciate your visions to get through the shame. Sorry, go ahead, please.
In a lot of psychological theory, in a lot of shamanistic theory, erotic is beyond everything,
Yes.
right?
Well, I'm not sure what you mean beyond everything.
It's
Beyond
it's
what you
not
can work
talked
with?
about.
Not
It's
talked
not
about,
work-
no.
Right?
Right.
And Tantra is always bleh, yucky.
Well, we've got this
For most
neo-tantra, which is not much of anything,
Okay,
which is basically about having good orgasms,
okay,
or better orgasms. It's
Okay.
not about classical tantra.
okay.
There are some people who use that erotic energy in the tantric context for healing, certainly. And I'm delighted to hear that there's more to the history of the Chinese
Yes.
in that erotic. I don't go into the erotic much. I am very comfortable in talking about and even touching, and I've given plenty of anal massage and even anal massage in the context of letting out all of one's feelings and yelling and screaming and all of that. And that's can be useful, but I don't think that it gets to the heart of the shame.
I don't do any massage.
Yes.
We call it idiomotoric automassage.
Okay.
Do you know what that is?
Auto massage?
Yes.
Well, I think that I've been practicing auto massage since I was a teenager.
It's
No?
idiosyncratic. Automassage means you massage yourself with imaginary hands.
Oh, yes. Okay.
With feathers, with the wind,
sure,
with
absolutely,
the water.
yes, right.
And then you go down to your,
Right.
I don't know, clitoris or penis or whatever, and you sit in the group, you have your eyes closed,
That's right.
and you massage it with rose kisses or whatever, right?
Right.
And the body takes this as an experience.
Yes,
the
right.
body
Of course,
the
sure. It's
experience.
very real.
So you can do it yourself.
Absolutely.
You can
oh,
do
sure.
it at home, you can
Absolutely.
do it in the
And
airport.
go into the anus? Do you do any anal work?
I do work with the,
Okay, the intestines and all.
Yes.
That's right.
yes.
Because so much of the shame is around the anus.
Okay.
That unless we
Yes.
really get into enjoying the anus, one of the great tantric exercises that I did for 3 years every day was to clench and release the sphincter, anal sphincters, 60 times in one breath.
Okay.
That's
We're doing the, wie heißt das, Beckenbodenmassage? There's a muscle system in this area,
Yes.
and it's you.
the pubococcyx, PC muscle,
Yes, PC muscle, and the
PC
anus
muscle,
is
yes.
with that,
right?
and you
Right.
contract it and loosen it, and you can do that.
Slightly different muscles. I'm talking about slightly different
Yes.
muscles.
No, it's the same. The whole
Well,
system. You
the whole
pull
system,
together,
okay,
and you
yes.
relax, and
Right.
and you do this physically.
Yes. Yes.
But in my groups, they sometimes just do it by imagination.
Okay. It works either way.
Yes,
Yes.
I do that. Yes.
Right. Okay.
Yes.
I find that the focus on the sphincter,
Mhm.
because of the pleasures involved in that area, and that focus allows that whole area to relax. I
Relax.
recognize
Okay.
that the whole PC thing is important, but the particular pleasures, there's so much pleasure there that is not acknowledged and emphasized that I think it's worth paying attention to.
What is very positive on this imaginary work is that people can have all sorts of images.
Yes.
Right. I do this in groups, in
Yes,
big
right.
groups.
Yes. Right.
And they can get very intimate with themselves, but I don't let them tell what they...
Right, right,
They,
right.
they don't need to. They
No.
just can vitalize these
Yes.
areas,
Yes.
and that's it.
I
That's okay.
think that's marvelous.
Yes.
And all of these experiences in the imagination are
Yes.
very real.
Yes, and you sort of, with the imagination, you sort of go beyond shame, step by step.
Well, you certainly go around it.
Yes.
I'm not sure that you fully release those shame stories.
I think step by step, I have ongoing groups,
Yes.
and people end the therapy,
Yes.
and new people come, and some just come when we do those erotic
Yes. Okay.
imaginations. And sometimes I think, oh, will she come back when she does this?
Sure. Sure.
And I do imaginations for 15 minutes, 20 minutes, or
Yes.
something like that, and then they sort of wake up, they have read,
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Right. Sure.
and they say, I want to come back.
Yes.
But I never push them to tell anything.
No. Fair enough.
Yes, it's not
Sometimes I think it's useful.
Yes.
As you saw the other day.
It might
I'm
be.
happy to have people talk, but it's
Yes.
okay if they don't want to.
Yes. You can release the shame within yourself without talking about it, I think. And the more you get
Yes.
into
I
these
guess I agree. I guess I agree.
you go step by step by step, deeper and deeper and
It's
deeper.
a matter of getting
and deeper.
comfortable with these things.
Yes.
One of the things that I found, I was married for a time, and my wife had a great many issues about shame around her body and about her sexuality and all sorts of things. So she often had dreams of physical mutilation, of being cut, slashed, and horribly abused. And it wasn't until she got involved in the BDSM world.
The PDS?
BDSM, the bondage discipline, sadomasochism,
Yes.
that she found that she could experience these things, but also say, okay, stop, I don't want it anymore, and got her power back
To control it in a
to
way.
control it, so that it then became something that she didn't need anymore, but it was going through that arena that nobody else seemed to be able to touch, to get into these places of deep shame and
And guilt.
And guilt. Yes, right, both. So, in any case, I don't know if that's a part of your world as well, but I found it very useful and very powerful for some people to even to be physically bound. You know, we hold so much tension in our, I assume, fascia, that if we have some kind of binding, either a sheet or ropes or whatever, then we can relax because we don't have to hold ourselves in anymore. The sheet or the rope does it. And so I found that many people can be much freer and express themselves under those circumstances where they couldn't in any other way before.
I don't remember having clients like that, but I remember we had a group in Corfu with, I don't know if you know Arjuna Ardak and Shamili Ardak.
I don't think so.
They did a sort of couple seminar, and there was one lady who said she was freed by that.
Yes. Yes, it's a remarkable path. Good.
But probably it's possible to, if they get out of their guilt and shame feelings, then they will develop some other imagination about their body.
Well, sure, but the whole point of it of that is about power, power, surrender, and intimacy.
Yes, yes. It's the only way to surrender.
Yes.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Cool. Well, very good. Anything else I can answer for you? Or?
Yes, I would like to ask you how's your way to Huna? You were a cook, or you had a restaurant?
I was a chef.
You're a physicist. You studied physics.
And biology.
So what combination is that?
When I was a teenager, I started reading the Upanishads and the Bhagavad Gita, the Tao Te Ching. Very interested in this kind of metaphysical stuff. And as I went to college, I started pursuing that and more of the occult things. I bought Madame Blavatsky's books when I was in my very early 20s and practiced the tarot. So we're talking about 45, 50 years ago. But then I let it go. I studied physics, and when I graduated from college, I had a fellowship to study the wild mushrooms of New Zealand for a year.
Where?
New Zealand.
Okay.
So I studied mushrooms and in New Zealand. That was a nice year.
Okay.
And but I became more and more interested in cooking, in cooking the mushrooms and cooking other things. So I was developing my interest in being a chef. So after bouncing around a little bit after college, I went to chef school and became a professional chef in gourmet boutique restaurants, mostly in the Caribbean and in Massachusetts. From there, I moved up to Maine, and
Yes, that's what you wrote. Yeah.
yes, about 26 years ago, I met a woman who had just taken a class with Serge, and who had written a book on Huna, a different form of Huna than Serge teaches. But so I first heard about him and was very intrigued by him. But I went in other directions, and
that was with the house with no fundamental.
that was when I was in a place that had in Maine that had no heating, and in fact
It
the
was
warmest.
not grounded, probably. So you said something like that in your book.
I'm sure, and I'm not sure that what story I was referring to then. But in any case, I lived in a walk-in cooler one winter in Maine, because that was the only place that was insulated. And started getting more and more involved in the spiritual sorts of things. And then I studied with a shaman, and more of a North American warrior-style shaman. And that was very interesting, and that resonated well with me.
Mm-hmm.
During that period, I stayed.
What was that?
Huh?
Which shamanism was that?
Well, it was basically the core shamanism, the warrior style.
Okay.
You know the difference.
Mm-hmm.
And he wanted me to be more of a warrior.
Mm-hmm.
And I was not buying that. And
Mm-hmm.
finally he said to me, well, if you're not going to be a warrior, Steward, what are you? Thought and I thought and I thought. And I said, I'm an adventurer.
Okay.
And when I came across Search's work,
Mm-hmm.
again, and found that the shamanism he teaches is the adventurer style of shamanism, I said, oh, I'm home.
Mm-hmm.
And
Okay.
so that was about 13 years ago.
When you moved to Hawaii.
No, I was still living in Maine. I didn't move. I left Maine almost 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I got a divorce
And studied with him.
and studied with him and became an Alakai, which is a senior student,
Mhm.
senior teacher, really.
Mm-hmm.
And so that works, and then I'm gradually developing my own version
Mm-hmm.
of Huna.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That, I mean, Huna is very flexible and it's very open, and it's not a closed system at all. So, if it works, it's Huna. That's what we say. So that's, but it was just a matter of what works for me, what works, what doesn't work, and this is so much more about you're creating your own reality. Therefore, you are essentially a god in how much you can create.
A creator, yes.
Yes, a creator, certainly. And how far does that go?
Endlessly.
Seems so. I was concerned, not concerned, I was contemplating doing a Nalu, a Hawaiian-style meditation, which is basically holding a focus on something until you feel a change in your body. About, focus, our mind's ability, or our consciousness ability to focus on things, is probably the most powerful thing we've got.
To choose and then to focus.
Well, I throw in choosing as part of the focus.
Okay.
I mean, I look at focus in terms of, yes,
Intention.
we can hold a single focus. Focus is also the ability to shift what we're looking at, and also the ability to zoom in
zoom in
pull
and
it
zoom out, yes.
That's right. So, all three. But what is doing the focusing?
Who?
What? Who is me? But what am I that I can focus like that? So that's why I say what is doing the focusing, which I find to be a different question.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
So what is doing the focusing?
Don't know yet.
Okay.
But it's fun to explore this because I mean we obviously create with our focus, but essentially the question is what is it? What is a creator? Not who is a creator. I am, whatever that means. I mean, I think that's the most misunderstood word in
I.
any language. I, yes. But what is it that
That makes me create.
yes, it allows me to change focus and create with that focus. Just a personal kind of thing. So you were asking about what led me to the Huna. To me, it is the most powerful spiritual system that I know. You have something that's very powerful too. That I don't know if you would call it a system or not. You have lots of powerful ideas and techniques. Huna is a system per se,
Yes.
and as such, it is the most powerful that I know of. So that's why I gravitate to it. And if I find something that's more powerful, I'll go to it.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, bye-bye.
What is your vision?
Personal or for the world?
Both.
All right. Personally, I would love to stay right here, have people come to me and talk to me on my porch, my lanai here, just as we're doing now, and to spend my time helping people as best I can, to live a life of modest abundance, and to travel occasionally, but not so much to go elsewhere to teach. I would like people to come to me, and to be able to get what they need from me, at least what they need at that time, and to walk away happy, so or happier. For the world, it seems to me that we're not going to change the world until we're all, or most of us are, much happier with who we are. So it's a matter of learning that self-love, to get over the shame, and that nothing really can happen until that happens.
We change ourselves.
Until we change ourselves. And I realized this back in 1969, when I was a student radical. I went to prison shortly after that because I refused to go into the army, to the war. So I was very much into that. How can I change the world? I realized at that time nothing was going to happen as we change ourselves. So that is what I am trying to do. I want to change the world.
You want to change the world?
I want to change the world.
Yes.
So that's my vision, to make it a much happier place. And I intend to do that, at least do my part in that, by helping people to be happier with themselves.
I think that my brother was this rebellion, 68.
Oh yeah.
Something.
Right.
And
Bader Meinhof gang,
yes. And I think it might not have been the way to change the world, but maybe it had. Because we're from Germany. We came from the Second World War.
Yes, right.
And it was really, really, really necessary that something very revolutionary had happened.
Yes, right.
It blowed up everything.
Sure.
It blowed up the mind.
Sure.
And I think
along with acid and...
Yes, that the way I'm thinking now, it is part of the freedom people released then.
Yes, I completely agree.
And then there was a women's lib. I would never be in that again, but at that time it was very, 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 very necessary.
Right, absolutely was.
So there are steps to that.
Yes.
And I think those steps do make sense.
Yes.
And now we have, I always tell my people, in Germany, we haven't been to war for 70 years now.
Lucky you.
And we have time for pleasure. We have time to go inside.
Yes.
And to have all our outer reality sort of relaxed in a way.
Yes.
So the first time in history in Germany,
right,
we have the time to go inside. And
I wish we did here.
That's a present for mankind,
boy,
for Germans, right?
For Germans, particularly. Americans haven't been out of war for more than, I think, 10 years in that whole period.
Yeah, but it hasn't been in the country. In Germany, it was in the country.
That's very
it
true.
Was very dramatic.
That's very different, yes.
And I think it's a present from Germans that we have this time to be relaxed, to go inside. You don't go inside physically when your body is afraid.
Of course.
Right? Then you say, "Ooh, what's happening in the world?"
Right.
And we need this peace around us to go inside.
Yes, I agree.
And in Hawaii you have peace too, right?
Yeah, I have a fair bit of peace right here. Yeah. And that peace is essential. I mean, it's, and even the Buddhist mystics who went into the mountains to find that peace. Obviously, you don't have to go to the mountains, but
No, I think it's important to have peace just sitting here, or just
Yes,
sitting
right.
on Trafalgar Square in London, or in
sure, that's right.
New York
Times Square,
subway,
yes, right.
right?
Yes,
Everywhere.
yeah. You find that by being okay with who you are.
Yes.
So, one of the things I wanted to mention, not only about criticism, I find, but I also am aware that a lot of people are deathly afraid of criticism. But they're very afraid that they will be criticized. And that's a different thing than the criticism itself.
To criticize than being criticized.
They're afraid of it, so they have this.
Yes. They
so
do everything not to get.
That's right. So in order to deal with that fear of criticism, I looked at it in terms of, okay, first you need to know what you do if you're criticized. It's like, what's your first aid? How do you deal with that at the moment? But at a deeper level, what is the deepest fear? What would happen if you, in fact, were criticized mercilessly? What would happen then? And so far as I can tell, most people would descend into their own version of hell.
Of hell.
Hell. So I printed out my own Get Out of Hell free cards, which I give to people. Basically, it's about if you're finding yourself going into hell, move your focus over the things you enjoy and let go of the things that make you miserable. But it's kind of a funny way of recognizing that we create our hell, and if we are aware that we do that, then we can get out of it. And we don't need to be afraid of going into hell. If we find ourselves there, fine, then we can get out. But people haven't been taught that they can get out.
Yes. I have some sort of rules for my groups, and one of the important rules is that I only talk about myself.
Yeah.
I
Right.
never say you.
Right.
And I take 100 responsibility for all the feelings I have, for all the thoughts I have, and I will never say, oh, you are such and such and such. I can say, oh, I have a switch here, and I get offended when you say that, or I feel angry, or I feel sad. But we try never talk about anybody else.
Right.
And when you go with that law, you don't criticize, because you always.
Right. But there's
Just
still, unless you address that fear of being criticized, then I think that affects people's choices and their actions. And that brings me to expectations. I don't know how you deal with expectations.
It's the same thing, actually. It binds us.
Yes.
If I expect something from somebody, or somebody expects something from me, it
Okay, but
chains us.
okay, yes. But all right, go ahead. Sorry.
And
yes.
like Huna says, the power is now.
Yes.
Expectations are either past or future, and the way is to get the chains off, right? To be free.
But expectations can be a very powerful tool.
For what?
Huh?
Or how do you mean that?
Expectations work by making desires, past or future, seem very real.
You mean expectations I have of myself?
Or the world.
On
Or
somebody
anything.
else.
Of anything. So, for instance, if I have expectations that my parents should have treated me better, and then I get angry, I've created this. But they work, or I have expectations that I'll have a good time at a party. or I have expectations that you will pay me back the money you borrowed. They look like reality because we take the doubt out. Reality is reality because we have no doubt about it. And that's what expectations are. Essentially, they're an intention or a desire with no doubt. Take the doubt out, and they look like reality. And so when we don't have our expectations met, we get very unhappy because reality got broken. So if we use expectations in terms of events and experiences and recognize that we are creating the expectation, and we don't have expectations of other people, I mean, that one's a silliness. I mean, but we can use expectations very powerfully because they're even more powerful than intentions.
How do you do that?
You take the doubt out. So, for instance, I can say that I hope I have a really good dinner tonight. And then I can say, well, I intend to have a really good dinner tonight. And then I can say, I expect to have a really good dinner tonight. The expectation, by eliminating the doubt, puts all of my focus into having a really good dinner tonight. Intention does that up to a large degree, but there's still room for doubt. By expecting, then it's kind of like a laser. It is highly focused energy to make that happen. If it doesn't happen, then fine. I know I created the expectation. But it is a very powerful tool.
I do it a little bit differently.
Maybe a question. Why don't you say, I will have an excellent dinner tonight? Or I will have had an excellent dinner tonight.
I would do it another way.
Sure. I mean, I certainly could. But the will is essentially intention.
May I do it differently?
Yes.
If I want to have a good dinner tonight,
Yes.
okay, that's the expectation. I would treat it as a vision,
Okay.
and I would zoom the vision into the present.
Sure.
I imagine
Yes,
right
yes,
now to have a very good dinner tonight.
I'm not. Yes. Okay.
That's what I do. I work with vision.
I
And
understand.
I zoom the vision into the present moment.
Right.
And then I embody the vision.
Yes.
I'm
And
over
you
my...
enjoy
Yes.
having the good
Yes.
dinner, and
Yes. That's...
I'm fully with you on that. And in terms of manifestation,
Yes.
I think that's the best way to
Yes.
do things. But I just and to say I will have a good dinner tonight, to me, doesn't feel quite as strong as I expect to have a good dinner tonight. But I'm just trying to give expectation its due and recognize that it is a very useful tool.
I call it, in Germany I would call it, I think, Sehnsucht is desire.
Yes.
I'm going to get my
Expectation in Germany has a little bit of control. Desire is a longing. It's a
Yes.
different word in Germany.
Right.
And a longing is a power. It's
Yes.
like a magnet.
Yes, right.
Yet it draws the future.
Or the
You get
future is
drawn.
drawing you.
Yes, or vice versa. But
That's
it's
right.
it's longing in
Yes.
Germany. In the
Yes.
it's a magnetic field.
Yes, fair enough.
And expectation, maybe the translation isn't that good. It's more like a control, where you want to control something in the German
Yeah.
translation.
Well, I think that's close to English.
Okay, so I work with longing. You just work with, you want to have a husband or a friend or a kiss or a
Yes,
dinner
yes.
or something.
Yes.
And you use this magnetic field of the heart and put in
Yes,
the longing,
yes.
and then you zoom it. Into your body.
Yes, and I'm
Yes.
fully with you. I just, and I think your way of longing and looking at it is
what you mean with the...
no, it's a different thing. It is an expectation is a fairly quick kind of thing, and is rather than go into the well, actually, I would think that when you bring that longing into your body, the result is an expectation, because you've eliminated doubt.
Okay.
Okay. So that's the way we can combine this.
Okay, right. In which case, I'm going to get some more water. Do you want some more? Do you want some more?
No, I still got some.
Congresses in Hawaii. I will be very happy to come.
Yes, but we're starting. Yes, that would be wonderful.
Yeah, right.
But maybe in 10 years you can participate online.
Oh, well, that's true. I mean,
Yes, a big. Yes,
I
think in 10 years the
yes.
technical.
Yeah, we should be. That should be easy.
You can sit here.
You saw my sign down there that says clothing optional beyond this part.
Yes.
So I'm, FKK, and
Where did you get that?
at the Maku'u market, the local market,
Okay.
for $5.
Okay.
But in any case, I don't like to wear clothes. I usually tell people that they see me naked. I say, well, I've just taken off my best clothes for you.
Okay.
So I prefer not to wear anything. So, and they get unhappy on airplanes if you take off all your clothes. So
They won't let you on.
yeah. So I'd rather stay here.
And maybe we can also exchange some articles, like the ones you have on Tantra, and I look at the Chinese.
Yes, I'd like
so
that. Yes, right.
just to
Sure.
intensify this
Sure.
process.
Did you find any of the articles? I gather you read the Christiane Northrup
Yes.
article. Did you find any of the other articles of use to you on my website?
Yes, and I liked all the quotes you have in your book.
Oh, yes.
You really read or combined a lot of quotes.
Yeah.
One pleasure. I didn't know that all those people wrote about, so many people wrote about
Right.
pleasure,
Yeah.
even to 3,000 or 2,500 years ago.
Right.
But you didn't have a Chinese quote, I think. I will get you some.
You're absolutely right.
I just discovered about the Chinese a few years ago.
I look forward to you
Yes.
sending me that.
Yes.
Thank you. And I will do some research. And if it's not in English, then I have some friends who will translate
It
it.
should be in.
Yeah.
And I will send you, as a present, who fills out the questionnaire, they get an MP3.
I saw that online.
And I'll send you one of my books, which is right now translated into English within the next 4, 5, 6 weeks.
Good.
As an ebook or
Thank
online
you.
book.
Yeah.
It has some. It's
Ebook or
called
PDF.
Healing Every Day.
Good.
And it has exercises which are combined with a daily routine.
Good.
So people don't have to invest much time. And when you wake up, it's a pleasure exercise. It's the first exercise to feel pleasure in your body. And you have 15 exercises.
Choose
throughout the
breathing
day.
exercise or what's in?
No shower
Okay,
exercise.
Okay.
Under the shower, when you go to the toilet, when you stand up, you have an exercise. When you sit down, you have an
yes,
exercise.
okay.
Just